Well, welcome to our
Hello and welcome to our home podcast.
Hello and welcome to our home podcast. We are in the garden again today. We're in the garden quite a lot these days because Spanish houses are actually quite chilly in the winter. So we're out here instead. My name's Lindsay.
I'm George.
I'm Jessie.
And I'm Jordan. And this is Dylan. This is Dylan. And this is Jasper.
I don't know how long they'll stay, but this is the whole Spanish family at the moment, minus Ethan. He'll be back at a later date. Anyway, we recently talked about marriage, and we thought, reflecting on that we talked a little bit about different gifts and personalities, particularly whether you're a pioneer or someone who isn't a pioneer, and how that works. But also, we were just chatting how self-awareness and being as aware as you possibly can about your gifts and personality is really important, and being as aware as you can about your partner's gift and personality is really important, because that then gives you the grace to know how best they work and how to relate and actually how to have, hopefully, a successful marriage. So this podcast is going to be quite practical, and we're going to talk about things like that. We recognise, just to say from the very beginning, that some people do not find personality tests and gift tests and all of that very helpful. We get that in that if they've been used to like box you, we get how that's frustrating. But we just want to say from the outset, we are not experts by any means on any of the ones that we have found helpful, but they have actually been really positive for us, haven't they? And they've given us grace for one another, both in marriage and in teams we've been working with. So we just wanted to share our experience of that in the hope that it will be a blessing to some of you out there and that you may also find them helpful. So, yeah, that's it really. That's the intro.
Yeah. Real big emphasis on the fact that they're not meant to put you in a box. And that actually, the most helpful way I was able to look at it was realising that they kind of just sum up the way that you initially respond to situations.
Yeah.
And something you just said earlier was they help you speak in the same language. So because of this, I've been able to communicate with you. I've been able to communicate with Mum in a way that makes sense to both of us. And that's been really helpful, having something that we can both refer to.
Yeah.
And I can just say as well that I think one of my biggest red buttons in this whole thing, even from the very beginning, is just like you said, you feel that the minute that you start taking some of these tests and things like that, people then put you in a box and you have an identity based on the letters, the categories, whatever it is that you come in, that you sometimes find it difficult to work out of, because you feel that that's how people then start relating to you, who are into these kind of tests. And I know that I was one of them that I really pushed them away, kind of thinking, get to know me as I am, basically.
Yeah.
But I know that the more that I've actually engaged with him, and I'm not at the same level as you guys, I take him lightly, in a sense, but it has really helped me to understand me more of who I am, but also who I'm not.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important as well. For me, if I'm striving to be something that I am not, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's, but anyway, it was mostly just to say, that I agree. They're not meant to box you in because they're dynamic. People change.
And also I think it's really important to say that once you find out that you are, an introvert, or that your love language is quality time, or that on Belbin, you're a plant and an implementer or whatever it is. Did I say Myers-Briggs yet?
No.
Yeah. Said introvert.
Yeah, or okay, so you like to make decisions quickly, or you're a strong feeler versus someone who's very logical, or whatever it might be. I think the times when people have been put off these things too is if you use that as an excuse not to work on your weaknesses, or you just hide behind it and say, oh, well, I reacted that way because I'm a pioneer. Or, well, I don't have pastoral gifts, okay, so I'm more of a teacher, so I'm just going to say it how it is.
Yeah.
So that's also not good. So it's about self-awareness to also help you to work on those things that you're not as strong on, particularly if your team need you to be stronger on those things, or
Yeah, I
your
was going to
partner
say
needs
if it's
you.
like affecting, or not affecting, but if it's like in a dynamic, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like, oh, okay, well that doesn't really work for me. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
You can see what the other person is and work on that.
yeah,
I think with all these things as well that, so for example, me and you on Myers-Briggs are both INFP.
Yeah.
But we are wildly different people. So
Yeah,
we can
that's
have
true.
the full
Yeah,
same
very
letters,
That
true.
is really
but
true,
still
yeah.
nuance.
utterly different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because you get these letters, and if you take one of these tests and someone else get these letters, it doesn't in the slightest mean that you are
the same person.
the same person
Yeah,
at all.
that's a good
Mhm.
point.
And that's why I think, in a way, just to do one test isn't that great. Like, we've
Yeah.
found some key ones, haven't we? Like Myers-Briggs type indicator, love languages, the Meredith-Belbin. It's called the Belbin test, which is all about team roles, and then the, however you want to call it, the fivefold ministry, or the APEST, apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastor, teachers. If you're a Christian, or if you're not Christians, there's books about, connectors and pioneers and guardians and nurturers, and what's the other one?
John knows
I
me.
can't even remember. I've missed one out. Sorry, apologies to whoever that was. I've lost my train of thought already.
You were trying to
That's why
figure
it's
out,
multiple
you were just
tests.
mentioning the different
Oh
tests.
yeah, thank you. So that's why it's really helpful, I think, to do multiple things, because then you get the nuance, and you can say, I may be a pioneer, but I am a very different pioneer to Jordan, because actually on the APES test, pastoral is really quite high with me. Don't think it is particularly with you, is it, love? Pastoral? No.
Probably
So
not.
so we're very different in the way we might lead. So but that's not a problem. It's actually a really good thing, because the most important thing is to know yourself and know how you interact with your partner and your immediate team. That's like the most important thing, isn't it? And it just gives you language to discuss that. And we found that we had a lot of light bulb moments when we've done these tests and then talked about it, haven't we?
Yeah, because when I was first dating Jordan, he was like, my mum needs to know what team, which one is it?
Or wants to know, I hope.
The
Did I say
team
mum?
The
I'm pretty
Belbin,
sure
the
it was me
Belbin.
that wanted to know that.
No, but you were like, my mum's really interested
Oh,
as
curious to
well.
know, yeah.
She would have been interested, yeah.
But
Careful saying once.
Sorry.
That's all
Wants
right.
to know,
Was that
needs to know.
Belbin? Was
That
that
the
like the
Belbin
coordinator,
one.
the implementer, the
Yeah, the
Yeah,
teams
yeah.
one.
You were
Yeah.
a team player.
Yeah.
or team player, the
Yeah,
glue?
yeah, that
She
one.
was team.
And
Thanks, George.
you'd like tried to guess it beforehand, but you'd only met me like once, I
Oh,
think. Yeah, but I think you were right. Team
Okay.
player. But anyway,
It's hard not to just.
Me.
I hadn't
I
heard
guessed.
of
What did
that.
Mum guess?
I don't know. You talked about it.
Either way, we probably both.
You
hazarded
got
a
it right,
guess.
is my point though, because you guys have talked about it a lot, but I hadn't heard about those ones.
Yeah.
I'd heard of like Myers-Briggs and like the apostles and all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but you guys talk about it all the time.
Some people like Enneagram. I've done that twice, and it just didn't work for me. I
Someone
didn't
gave me a book on that
didn't
recently.
resonate with it at all. It didn't fit, but some of the other ones really did. So it's just finding the things
Yeah.
that help you and having that shared language and whatever.
Yeah.
But did you want to explain the fivefold ministry one?
No. Oh, maybe you did. Sorry.
No,
Right.
not
Oh,
necessarily. I think we did touch on that.
You guys are so different.
We did touch on that last time.
yeah. Why?
We touched on that in the marriage talk, didn't we? We were talking about apostles or pioneers and explained that.
I don't think we did.
Did we not?
I don't
I
think
don't think
you
we need to.
explained it.
Okay.
You don't have to if you don't want to, but
What
Yeah,
was that
I
on
mean,
the agenda?
Well, I was going to ask what people.
No, genuinely, I'm
I was going
asking,
to
was
ask
that on the
No.
agenda? Genuinely.
what did people find out of these tests? What did you personally find the most helpful in life and marriage? I was going to start there, but if that is the fivefold ministries or the APES, then yeah, we can talk about
Well, no,
that.
I used to look at Myers-Briggs a lot when I was younger, but not so much recently. Because
Mhm.
I think once you've done a lot of Myers-Briggs, there's not much to do unless you're doing it in new situations. So, like, I introduced it at work, used it with my team at work.
yeah.
But for myself personally, I've not used it for a while because once you know what there is to know, you just not like it changes.
Unless you like drastically change.
You can change,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
your letters can evolve, but you're advised not to do it. You're advised to wait at least 6 months in
Yeah.
between each test. So it's not like you're
Mine's
thinking
never
about
changed,
it every
yeah.
single day.
Mm-hmm.
But the Belbin stuff, that's what's been most helpful to me recently.
Right.
Realizing how you operate in the team. Did you explain what Belbin was just briefly then?
No, I mean, I don't. That's quite a lot of roles. I probably should have had that in front of me if we were going to do that. But yeah, if you look up Belbin online, that's probably the best thing and see all the different team roles. But it's
Yeah, I
things
think there's
like
8 or
plants
9.
that has
Is there 10?
original ideas. That yeah, it's you know, people who are people coordinators and really good at rallying teams together. People who are completer finishers with an eye to detail, like team players who are the glue that hold things together. Research investigators who love networking and like drawing in all sorts of information. What other ones off the top of my head?
And what that does is just it highlights your strengths within a team.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what do you naturally gravitate towards within a team? What are you going to excel at?
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of that is actually, it's almost anti-hierarchy, that, I think, because you're looking at people's strengths within the team and letting them lead in a certain area.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were a great resource investigator, when it comes to networking and contacts, that's where I'm like, oh, you go ahead and do that. I'm not in charge. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm a plant, so I come up with lots of ideas, loads and loads
You
of
sure
ideas.
do.
Yeah.
So when we need ideas, or we're thinking about something new, how would we do this? The team may come to me and ask me what I think, or I work with someone else who's a high plant.
Well, you've just
And
reminded me.
whatnot.
Monitor evaluator, which is one of Dad's, because people tend to have a top 3, don't they?
Yeah.
Monitor evaluator who can look at a plan, look at an idea, and evaluate. Is that a good idea, or what are the practical
evaluate as you
ramifications
go.
of that? Yeah, and evaluate what you're doing as
Yeah.
you go and how things are working, how successful they are. And you really need each other, don't you?
And I think it's very easy to just not appreciate the roles that aren't very high on your list,
Mm-hmm.
because naturally they don't mean much to you.
Yeah.
But coming into a team or a marriage or any situation where you're working with other people, it's about understanding that all the roles are really important, even
Yeah.
if you don't value them very highly or you're not very good at them, that they are important within the team.
Shaper is another one. Sorry, it's just as it's coming to me. Really like to shape the direction in which
That's
things
my other
go.
one.
Can I just tell a little story there? So I was coaching. No,
Story?
not very brief example.
The story? Oh no, a
Oh
different
no, not
story.
that story. So I was coaching basically a leader of a community in a church context. So actually, I'd had a couple of leaders come to me and say they were struggling to work with this person, and could I help? And it was kind of my job because I was overseeing a lot of leaders of communities in this church context. And so I went along and had a chat, and we did Belbin together. And I had the team do it beforehand, and then I went along. And it was absolutely fascinating because this guy who was working in a team overseeing this community of people, they'd been working together for years and they were friends. It turned out that he was an introvert, so he kept a lot in his head anyway. Turned out that he was a plant, so he had ideas. He was, I think it was something crazy, like his top 4 were implementer, shaper, and completer finisher, or monitor evaluator or something. But without remembering the exact details of the top 3, there were 3 that basically were all about coming up with the ideas, making sure it happened, or deciding exactly how those ideas should be done, evaluating if it was going okay. So what was happening was he was really struggling to let people in, because basically he could run it all by himself. So they're supposed to be team roles, but he had
Right.
these ones that were nothing to do with being a team player or whatever. So yeah, he could come up with the ideas, work out how to do it, evaluate it, and that was it, job done. So it was so enlightening when he was able to see, oh my gosh, I've got all these people with all these other strengths and
They all
gifts
hate
here.
me.
They kind of not exactly hate me, but they're really struggling. I need to let them in and, hear all these other voices in the team. So they really are helpful, and that
Yeah.
really changed how they were able to operate.
They
Yeah.
really are super helpful.
Yeah. So in marriage, I mean, I know you guys haven't had tons of experience. We could maybe talk a little bit, couldn't we, about you?
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
was yours
just-
more Myers-Briggs, the one that was more the extrovert processing thing?
I think that was one of them. I think the team roles in Belbin also, I think I found really helpful, because we did that one, I think, for the first time when we were working together with our team at the cabin for the first time. Because again, I found an incredible frustration sometimes in the way that I work, I, in a sense, come to an expectation that everybody else is actually going to be working at the same rate, working at the same pace, you know, that I do. And if you guys know me, I work very fast, very quick. And
Dad works so fast, no matter what he's doing, that he sweats. So if he's washing the dishes, he'll be doing it so fast he's sweating. If he's washing the clothes, he's sweating. That's the speed that he works at, no matter what he's doing. If he was writing a book on the laptop, he would be sweating.
It's like that
Don't know
TikTok
about
trend.
Yeah,
That's
the laptop
perception of
laptop
you.
would be smoking with the speed of the typing.
the laptop itself would be sweating. Nah, the slight exaggeration, but nevertheless, I think the before we actually took this test, you know, you treat people the way that you are often, you know. So if you tend to have certain giftings or certain talents or certain ways of thinking, you almost put these onto other people and you expect them to be the exact same without even realizing, recognizing, or appreciating that they are actually very different and they can actually contribute something very different to the team than you. And it's almost like you want to create a whole bunch of mini-me's around, because you tend to think that you are the best, you know, or you are the way that it actually should be. And therefore you don't appreciate it. And before you know it, it's like you're leading a team and there's no one behind you, you know, and you're questioning like what's going on. And I think a lot of that is because I think, speaking just for myself, I didn't know myself. I didn't know who I was, and I didn't appreciate who other people were and some of the differences. You know, it makes me sound like an ogre. I wasn't, but I think what it did, it actually allowed me to be able to start appreciating, you know what, there's vast differences, you know, between people when you're working together, and particularly within a marriage. You know, you tend to respond to the other person, or to give to the other person what you would normally respond to, what the way that you would normally want to be encouraged, you know, the way that you would normally gather information, make decisions. You put this onto the other person, and they may be totally different, and they just cannot process, they cannot think, they cannot operate in the same way that you do, and then the frustration comes up because you're thinking,
Well, it's like the love languages, like physical touch, acts of service, quality time, gifts, and
Words of
Encouragement.
affirmation.
words of affirmation. So yeah, George is a server, acts of service. So he shows his love by doing stuff and being practical.
I sweat as I do on my acts of service.
But you also receive love by having stuff done for you. So I could, you know, offer hugs all day long to show you I love you, or tell you how great you are. You'd probably puke at that. past the
She
sick
doesn't love
bucket.
me. Just do that.
Yeah, whereas if I go and actually make you dinner, which thankfully that is one thing I do, that's what you most appreciate. You give and receive love in that way, don't you?
Yeah.
Gifts are of an area where we both, fortunately, gifts is at least in our top two for both of us. So that's really nice. I get, in the past when we used to have money, I had really nice you know, gifts. George is very thoughtful, and we ran a gift shop, so that kind of worked. But some of the other areas have been a challenge, because physical touch is really high for me. I'd say it's my first or second, probably second. And George, it's like nowhere. So that's why we have dogs.
Oh, I gotta remember that line.
Because I get all the strokes that I don't get from George. All the cuddles and love, and I don't mean that horribly, but you know, we
No, I know
tried
exactly
though,
what
didn't
you
we? The
mean, yeah,
amount of years
yeah.
I was like, George, please play with my hair, like that couple who've just come round and they're all
Sound
over
like
each
me.
other.
Yeah.
And I'm so jealous because they're just sprawling all over each other and kissing and cuddling. And I would even once have told Ethan, because Ethan sometimes did that once or twice, because anyway, that sounds weird, but he did, because anyway, and
Did
he
what?
was like
Tickled her hair.
plaiting my
Oh,
hair or
right.
something. And I was like, oh, that feels so nice. Oh, that feels so nice. George, would you play with my hair? And he's like, I'm like, no, not like that. And Ethan's like, Dad, play with
I'm gonna
Mum's
walk
hair.
away now. I'm an absolute mon.
No, not at all. But it's like, it's really hard to teach someone something, is my point, when it's not natural.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
You tried a couple of times since then.
Pillow straight.
to do that. But again, I can't make you a touchy-feely person, so I had to just adjust to that.
Maybe I'm not physical
and in
touch.
all
No, but at the same time, I think, recognizing that and knowing,
I'll
for
sit there and
example,
think
what
about it.
you
We can't
really
have this conversation right now.
appreciate and what
We're
really
more
speaks
interested in
love
them.
to you is actually informative to me as well.
I'm
You
Yeah,
know?
kidding for you
sure. But what I'm
listeners.
saying
joking.
is, I love the fact that we meet
They
on
have loads
gifts
of
and
good stuff to
we
say.
give and
Yeah.
receive love
Yeah.
like
It's just
that.
our own
And I
podcast.
also, you're just having your own conversation over there, guys.
No,
Just go ahead.
we're not.
He just started speaking to me. I was like, we can't have this conversation right now. He's like, yeah, we can. And then he starts talking into the mic. And
Yeah,
I'm
we're
like,
coming to you. We're coming to you. We were just talking about our love
Oh.
languages and
ADHD,
how
I'm
they
sorry.
no, but he wasn't even talking
Sometimes.
to you or the podcast. He's just like, yeah, babe.
having a random chat about the Liverpool
Not
game
right
or
now.
something.
See what we have to contend with.
I know.
Sorry,
So-
continue.
But no, it is. It's just really helpful to know how each other give and receive love. That's a big one. So how do you give and receive love, guys?
Well, I used to think I was big on physical touch,
Well, we were
but
just,
like
this is what we were just discussing
Okay,
that they would have heard on the mic.
recently,
What
When
do you
I
mean
met-
beyond? What do you
when
mean
I-
beyond?
When I
You
met
didn't need it.
Jordan,
Oh, sorry,
Huh?
go on.
when I met Jordan, we obviously met online, so we were texting, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm physical touch." We talked about Myers-Briggs. We talked about.
quality
Love
time first. I always
languages.
said that, quality time.
No, you didn't. When we
Oh,
first,
okay.
yeah, when we first started talking, you said
See,
physical
she
touch
knows
was.
this because of how
I
disappointed
know.
she is. She thought she was getting
Anyway. So you said you were physical touch, and then I was like, "Well, that's good because so am I." And you were like, "I'm so cuddly. I don't know if you're ready." And I was like, "Trust me, I'm ready." Like for the
I
cuddles.
have seen you too.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
yeah.
but when
Seen her.
yeah, but then when we first met
Cuddles.
up, let me speak.
Let me talk. Let
Let
me
me
talk.
talk. So when we first met, though, I was quite reserved. So you thought this girl hates physical touch. She's a liar.
Let's demonstrate what quite reserved
I do
was.
remember
no,
that.
he
I
was
It was
remember
more
right.
than quite reserved. The first time meeting
I
her,
was like
we were
this.
watching a film,
On your sofa.
and I
Yeah,
thought
I remember.
that we might have a little cuddle. This was her in the corner, and I was sat about there,
I was. Because I was shy and
as
nervous.
far away from me as
Were
possible,
shy.
I'm
closed
very
off.
reserved.
I couldn't even give it the old.
Yeah, I was literally as far away as possible I could be from you. I remember.
Yeah,
It wasn't because I hated you. I was just shy.
just a shy girl.
Anyway, so then you thought, oh, she's not physical touch. Like I don't
I
think.
thought she'd lied. Yeah.
Yeah, but then as you got to know me and I got more comfortable, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm physical touch
But I
because
have
she
explained.
loves
I
cuddles.
think because Jessie touches me so much.
Yeah.
Any physical touch needs I do have are met and then some.
Yeah,
So I feel like that need is so met. I'm like questioning, am I even physical touch? But maybe
but
if
if
you
I
took
just
it
stopped
away.
hugging you, you'd be like, no, because yesterday when you were doing work and I'd been cleaning, you're like, come here, I want to cuddle.
Yeah, I guess it does come out sometimes.
Yeah. But anyway, the point of
Jessie's
that
favourite
was.
word is cuddles.
Yeah, I love
Cuddles.
physical touch, but it's just funny because you were like, I don't think you're ready for all the cuddles. And
No, it's
actually,
been the
you
other way
weren't
around.
ready.
Who was in fact
You
was
weren't
not
ready.
ready.
So, yeah, we talked about that a lot.
I think you can even see, I was saying to you earlier, Jessie, I think you can even see physical touch sometimes in the way people relate to human beings. So when I'm talking or I'm with someone, I will naturally touch their arm and all that sort of
Get the
thing.
doggies.
And yeah, it's kind of a shame that in society and whatever, you have to be much more careful. Some people don't like being touched, obviously, but it's also just the way society's gone. You do have to be a lot more careful, don't
That's
you,
true
with
because
touching.
recently we were praying with my mum and I went to grab his hands to pray and he was like, no, it's prayer time, but I'm just such a physical touch person that I was like, yeah, but we're
Doing
praying.
it anyway.
And when
Yeah.
I talk to you, I like,
I don't mind when you talk to me.
no,
but
no,
it's
no,
like
I'm not
if
saying
we're-
you don't like
If
it.
we're
I'm
doing
just
something
saying
serious,
you noticed
then I don't want to be
it.
touched.
Yeah,
I feel
Mm.
like it's business time.
yeah,
Not that prayers are always business time, just to clarify. But
yeah.
we were like properly praying
hmm
and
It's
grabbing the hand. And
distracting.
yeah, cuddling for
Mm.
me. You cuddle when you're relaxing.
Yeah.
You don't cuddle when you're
Yeah,
doing
because
something.
I used to always hold your hand when we were going on walks as well. But that's like you're doing something. You don't mind
Yeah.
it sometimes, but if I was always doing it,
If it's all the time,
yeah,
Yeah.
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 But I didn't think I liked words of affirmation when I met you. I'd said that was my bottom, but then, because I don't think I'd really had that before, but then you were very encouraging with your words. and like said why he loved me and stuff like that. So then I was like, oh, actually, I think that's really important to me. If you took that away now, I'd be like, he hates me.
I think, to be honest with the gifts, like actually when you experience them all, you realise that they're all important.
Yeah.
You might have primary ones, but you can't. I don't think you can like just skip out on any of them and just be like, oh, we don't do that one ever.
Yeah,
that's
I
I've
don't
got,
think that's
I buy you a
healthy.
gift, so I'm never going to spend any time with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
it's
because I
happened.
think since being together, I appreciate acts of service more.
I
Also,
said
and
that
you-
to you
and you said that to me.
recently.
Yeah, you
I
did.
was
That's what
filling
made me
out
think.
a book, and it said, what's your love languages? So for me to answer, and I put physical touch. Then my second one would be quality time, and then I put his, and I put quality time and acts of service. And I said that to him, and he was like,
oh wow.
he was like, no.
yeah, that's not something.
But clearly you've been
Dad would have
thinking
thought.
since
It's definitely
then.
not doing acts of service.
No, it's me doing it for you.
If you do it for me,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's
one
what
of
I mean,
your,
yeah.
but your main love
Then you
language is
feel-
you doing it and you receiving. If it's just receiving, then it can't be one of your main ones. And I think my acts
Right.
of service actually comes from just being practical. Like, if you're helping with practical things, then I feel like we're moving towards goals better.
Yeah, because we've had that conversation
Whereas
a lot.
I don't think that's necessarily a love language.
No,
It's
that's true.
It's practical.
And it works with friendships too, don't you think? Because I
Yeah.
mean, my friend Susie, she really appreciates quality time, which is not always easy because she's in Australia. But because one of my top ones is gifts. Everywhere I go, as you boys will know from going on holiday with me over the years with friends and family,
Oh my goodness.
I'm always thinking about, oh, so and so might like that, and you know,
just gonna look in
and
this
so-
shop.
yeah, just
Why?
going to
You've
take
been in
this
10
back or
shops
this.
like it.
This I'm
Okay,
thinking.
can you be quick? Yeah, I'll be quick. 20 minutes
But
later.
I'm buying ahead for Christmas, birthday, seeing a certain colour or a certain item. But again, I mean, Susie does appreciate gifts, and I do send them all the way to Australia. But she'd much rather that I be there, or she have a coffee with me, or she'd probably appreciate more that I ring her up and talk to her for an hour on her birthday than she gets a package. Whereas me, if I get a parcel of gifts, I feel really loved and appreciated, and I won't probably miss the call on the birthday.
Yeah.
See, I'm the same
so-
as Susie. I wouldn't. You could take away all the gifts.
Yeah.
Quality time's my number one.
Absolutely.
I like to be doing something and spending time with someone.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Like
the thing
going
is, the
for a
more that you
walk, I just love
actually
going for a walk.
understand
Yeah.
this, the
Yeah.
more I can see it
Yeah.
operating in
Yeah.
people's lives. You definitely do start recognizing
wind
and I
come
think
from?
appreciating. You know, so if you want to be able to go ahead and give love, and you're thinking, okay, I may not be that, but you are. Therefore, I have to cross the divide
Yeah.
and basically said, right, I'm actually going to spend time with you, or I'm going to do this with you, or I'm actually going to go out and really spend time looking at a gift that's actually going to go ahead and bless them, rather than the old, here we go, it's been wrapped with, an
Yeah.
old Amazon box and things like that. There you
looking
I'm
at
go.
not
me?
looking
You
at
know?
anyone.
Looking at me? I
Did
saw
you
you
just
trying
eye
to.
him?
You tried to look away, and then you made eye contact, and then you looked away again. What are you trying to say, Mum? I am notorious for not even wrapping up gifts.
Really?
I am not.
I'm not even waiting for the birthday. Mum, I
a
bought
gift
this.
He
person.
just
I know
gets
the
so
birthday's in
I
a
buy
week.
the
What are you
gifts.
talking
I
about?
get impatient.
Gets too excited.
I don't think I've wrapped up many presents for a while. I just go and grab
No.
them and say close your eyes and then
Yeah.
check it at them. I'm not great with cards. Yeah.
You've been good with cards for me.
Don't say that in front of Mum.
Sorry.
She'll get jealous.
He's been
Since
awful.
he's had to admit that they are important to you, after your
Yeah.
initial misunderstanding.
I believe
yeah.
they were. I'm sure you said they weren't.
No, I love
Yeah,
cards.
Nah, you said a text. Was
I
fine.
if you just gave me a card for my birthday, I'd be happy.
For reals?
But no.
Guys, you heard that? You
my
heard that?
birthday's
Gonna
coming
test
up.
you on
Nah,
that.
you heard that. That's it.
You heard that. It's live. It's
But I
been
mean, if you
recorded.
gave me a gift and no card, I'd be upset. But if you gave me a card with no gift, I'd understand.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
the actual card is very important to
Oh,
you.
definitely. I keep them all.
I'd much rather a
I
gift.
love the
Is it the
cards.
card or what's actually said inside the card?
Both,
Because if you get a
probably.
card, for example,
I
and
think-
it says "Happy Birthday, Love Jordan," and that's it.
Nah, I'd be like, what's this?
Yeah.
What's going
It's the
on?
thought into
Hand
the
it back
words
to me. This isn't
inside.
good
It's
enough.
the
I'm gonna give you
effort and
10
the
minutes
thought
to go do it
behind it.
But
again.
that's
Try again.
that's where I think my words of affirmation comes in, and I didn't realise before. Do you know what I mean? But
Right,
because
yeah.
you can write me a card,
Yeah.
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 I've always appreciated that.
And I think when the other person who is not that, for example, really makes the effort, it carries so much more meaning.
Yeah.
It speaks even louder than, for example, if you do, give a gift on a regular basis and things like that.
Dylan, what are you doing?
He's just standing there.
Yeah, he's just being
He
weird.
loves me. Yes, I mean, again, it's part of the whole process of
Dylan's physical touch is number one. Anyone go
Oh
on?
yeah.
not only the 5 love languages, but all the other ones that we talk about, you know, understanding, you know, so that what you don't do, you don't impose on the person who you are, you adapt to the person to whom they are. And I think that's really the definition of love. You know, you're making the bridge, you're carrying over. And in terms of husbands and wives, you know, it's one of those things that you really seek to do. It's not easy. It's not always easy. That's the thing, because you always revert to who you are, and you think in those ways. But it does make an effort, particularly when you can be very different in your
Yeah.
love languages. You can be very different in the way you process things and the way you think. It just takes effort to be able to sometimes stand back and not get frustrated and think, okay, no, that's just him, that's just her. You know, I can understand that. You bring the temperature down, you know, and you choose love.
Yeah.
You choose love is what you do through your actions.
Yeah.
I don't know what example this would be of, but like you talking about practical, like as in I don't know what this would come under, like Myers, blah 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 blah. Do you get what I'm saying? But you like practical things, so me doing practical stuff for you, but I just do not think like that. But you had to like explain to me why it's important to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't care less if you did that for me. Do you know what I mean?
Like what?
I don't know, like if I make your day easier when you're busy working and I'm not working, you really appreciate that. Whereas if I was working, I wouldn't care. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And when I was doing my like dissertation and stuff like that, you showed me that as well, because you were like, I'll make you lunch, like I'll do this, I'll set a routine, blah blah blah. That's you being practical for me.
Right. Yeah.
You'd just not eat all day.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But what I mean is, like, I had to learn to do that for you.
Yeah.
Because it was so important for you.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still learning.
I am still learning.
Jeez, it's only been a few weeks. She's doing great. Even just the fact that at this stage in your marriage, you know that you know you're trying to love the other person in the way that they most appreciate being loved. And when it's not your actual love language, that just takes effort and thought. It's harder.
Yeah.
You have to choose to do it. It's about going back to the choosing to love thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love people in the way they need, not in the way you need. Yeah. And when you matched, great.
I
Then
think
it's
that was
easy.
the big change in like wanting initially when I was younger, wanting a wife who was more like me, like had loads and that they wanted to do it, and then as I got older, realizing that I was incapable of doing everything that I want to do in life by myself,
Yeah.
and thinking who better to be on my team than my wife, and to have a partner like that, because there's so much that I do want to do,
So much.
so much
So
that I
many
do want to
ideas.
do, that the best thing for me, and I don't want this to come across as selfish, but this was a key part in like deciding the type of person that I wanted to be with, is finding someone who actually just wants to help that,
Yeah.
and wants to work towards that same goal, instead of having their own goals over here, and then we come together and cook together in the evening and kind of live separate lives and help out around
Yeah,
the
but
home.
that doesn't mean that I don't have my own goals. It just means that like I'm able to help you with yours, or mine align with yours.
Yours align with mine.
Yeah.
That's more what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Jessie, if she wants it, will have her own career.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to sound like you were saying I have no ambition or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
anything.
no,
Yeah,
that's not what I'm
Obviously,
trying to
I
say.
know
I'm
that,
saying
but yeah.
a lot of our goals align anyway. There's
Yeah.
things that we wanted in family and to move forward aligned anyway. And if ever you did want to branch out and do psychology or whatever you wanted to do, then I'd be like fully supportive
Yeah,
of that.
definitely.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I remember when I was like 17 and 17, 18 and looking at the youth leader at the time, George, who I sort of fancied. George just kind of was in the scene, but we weren't going out or anything. And he was like very brilliant at drama. George is actually good at drama, but he was extrovert, very like out there,
Extrovert
really good
with
at
a capital
speaking.
E.
Okay.
Sounds
really,
horrendous.
really
Sounds
good
like my
at
sister.
well, I wouldn't have said so, but anyway, really good.
Seriously?
Yeah, guitarist. Just kind of, I looked at him as like he was the youth leader, and I thought, oh, I'd love to marry someone like that. And initially, wouldn't have particularly attracted to George. but it's really interesting because God knew. So when I looked at where this person went, he was also quite scatty and all over the place. And anyway, had commitment issues. George definitely didn't. He was much more mature. And I look back and think, I didn't know. Couldn't even identify at 18 or 19 who would be best for me. And it's not been it's been a bumpy ride at times, because there are some parts of us which are extremely different, and we've really had to choose to love and to get through certain times, certain periods of life or whatever. But in that particular thing, like you, I had ideas and an initiator and a lot of vision and stuff, and George has often played the role of, that's great, he had to learn not to burst my bubble, and come up with his monitoring, evaluating ideas like in the first 5 minutes, and I'm like, just give me a few minutes to get excited and dream about this. But he's been brilliant.
Didn't take me that long.
But this is what you need to think about in order to get there. And even at the cabin, caring about standards of cleanliness and all that sort of thing. When other people just who cares? Just get the people in, serve the food. That doesn't really matter. Well, actually, yeah, if you get closed down because your allergies aren't in a good place, or your tables are dirty, do you know what I mean? It actually does matter. But sometimes the teachers or the guardians, as they're called in secular books about these sorts of roles, they're given a hard time, because they bring you back to sometimes the standards or the truth, or the rules, or that sort of stuff, which is seen as holding things back. And just get out of the way and let me go with this.
They're the ones that annoy everybody else.
They annoy everybody else. But without them, you can make some really big mistakes. So it's just a really good lesson in how we need each other. And there have been times when George has seen something or said something, and it's been like, if we hadn't listened to that or done that, this would have happened. Because he wasn't going to cut that corner. He was going to do it properly. And if he hadn't, the whole thing could have come tumbling down. So.
But it's interesting, though, if you happen to have a particular gift or a particular way of thinking that you feel is not appreciated, for example, is not being listened to, whatever, things can get really dicey, because you almost fight more for it, if you see what I'm saying. If you're appreciated and you feel like you're listened to, right, it's so much easier to be able to go ahead and work together. When you're not, it's almost like you don't want to be there. You don't, it has a very negative effect when you feel that people are not appreciating you for who you are, right, and can just go ahead and push you aside and thinking what you're offering is not important enough.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'm doing is more important.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes what's very easily communicated, and I think this is the struggle that I have had for quite some time, particularly working in a team, because like you said, when you are the person that notices, right, I'm very, very detailed. I notice very little details that other people just don't, and if I mention them, right, say for example a cleaning element, at work or whatever the case might be, and I sense that people get annoyed, it annoys me, because to me it's important,
and
right?
That's because
Those
you're
kind
an
of
S.
things.
You're an S on Myers-Briggs, which
Yeah.
is the second letter, details, not the big picture visionary. All those details don't really matter.
But again, you find that sometimes some people like me are few and far between. They're not around, but you can realize you can actually annoy. So I have to work in a way that if I'm going to communicate something, it has to be communicated so that the other person can hear it. Not so that I'm coming across as a kind of thing. But at the same time, I want the other person to be able to go ahead and hear me. So it's always a two-way road. How am I going to work together best and better, right? And in a loving manner, particularly when it relates to, husbands and wives, right? But at the same time, it's like the other direction also has to come towards you. You have to feel appreciated. You have to feel like someone's actually making an effort, to love your rough edges, so that you can start getting rid of the annoying behavior or the behavior that doesn't suit the other person, right? And adapt it so that you continue being genuine to yourself, but at the same time love the other person, and you get that in response as well. I think that's what starts really making a marriage really blossom is when you really seriously understand each other, and you know which buttons not to press,
Yeah.
and you know which buttons to press
Mhm.
as well.
Do I press the right buttons in you?
Yeah, you've
On
gotten
you.
better.
Yeah.
That just sounded so wrong.
It was meant to. That was meant to be a joke. The execution
was
wasn't
it?
quite there.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I meant, do I? Yeah. What was I trying to say? Do I
You're
turn
trying to
on
say
your
you're turning me
buttons?
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I turn you on? I was asking
Yeah.
a question.
When-
It was just a joke.
Why turn on
Wink,
your
wink.
buttons?
You can't see in the sunglasses.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
wink, wink.
You can't.
I love how I tried to answer it there and I was just like, that just doesn't sound right. But yeah,
Anyway, sorry, go on.
you do tickle my head, even though you don't like it.
Jessie, don't keep going.
That turns her on. That's all I have to do to
No,
turn
it
her on.
doesn't.
Just tickle her head.
That's how I feel loved, if
Yeah?
you tickle my
Aw.
head. And so when you do tickle my head, I'm like, thank you, because I know that you hate it.
I don't hate it.
You just don't, you wouldn't go to do it as much as I would want you
No.
to do it. You'd cuddle me, but you wouldn't tickle my head.
Yeah. But
Does he
still-
like having? Do you like having your head
He
tickled?
Oh, yeah.
loves it.
No, I still have some things that I need to work on. I still have a
I should
little
hope
bit.
so, when you've
of
only
a-
been married like 6 weeks.
No, but I
Yeah.
mean, me personally, I still have some problems with authority. I don't like being asked to do things
Yeah.
from when I was younger. I'm so much better than I used to be,
Mhm.
but I am still processing some of this stuff. So immediately, as soon as you ask me to do something, my first response is always no. I have to overcome that all the time.
I'm like, can you
So
tickle
you
my head?
just,
Ugh.
I'm like, you just asked me to do something. If I'd thought of it in the moment, or if like it had flashed up on the screen
No, I
saying
get that,
tickle her
though.
head, it's just because you ask. Say, can you?
So shall I
and then-
just start like setting reminders on your phone saying tickle her
You
head?
need to
Head
put
tickling time.
post-it notes.
I
up,
will do that.
and then I'll see it and
actually.
go, oh yeah, she likes head tickles. I'll do that.
Okay, noted. If you guys start seeing like post-it notes around our flat saying tickle her head.
Well, as we're on this slightly suspect topic, shall I finish with a joke as I'm conscious
Yeah,
of
leave
the time?
a comment saying tickle her head. But yeah,
I'll finish with my joke, shall I?
wait, no, we
Oh.
had this all queued.
Did we?
Let's roll back.
Oh,
What? Action! Oh, Mum, I heard you had this funny joke. Why don't you tell them? I'm not going to cut that either, so they'll see that all.
yeah, it was just to say that you do need to be a little bit careful with Myers-Briggs. Well, I was in a situation where the whole organisation spoke in Myers-Briggs speak like all the time.
Wait, hold
Really?
on. Can you say what it was? Because it sounds funny.
Oh, I will say what it is.
No. Can you say, you said organisation.
Church.
It was a church.
I'm
Which
going
makes this
to
funnier.
explain the context. I'm going to
okay,
explain the
just
context.
checking.
Yeah.
Stop
So-
butting
Sorry,
in.
It was-
sorry.
You can't help it.
It's the
So you'd
ADHD.
often hear, oh, that's because they're a P. Oh, yeah, well, that's because they're an I. Oh, that's because they're an extrovert processor, which we haven't covered, but that's an interesting one. You can be an introvert, but have to process your thoughts aloud. So, like, yeah.
It's because
For
Dad doesn't
George.
have an internal monologue.
Which is
So
so
he has to speak
interesting.
out loud.
Which
Isn't
I
it?
found
Really
out just
interesting.
last week that people have an internal monologue, which
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm always talking to
My
myself
brain's
up there.
just all the
Yeah,
time.
me too.
All the time.
Anyway.
Schizophrenic, I call
But
it.
but you knew that you've known from decades that you're an extrovert processor, which is interesting.
Yes.
So it goes
Yeah.
all in our heads
Just
for
be careful with your arms.
the
Yeah, so he
introvert,
thinks
and
out
then
loud.
then you speak it out. Whereas for George, he gets to where he needs to get to by talking it through.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if we mentioned that in the last one, but
I,
that's
I think
But yeah,
extra
people
grace required.
people were referring in the church. People going, oh, that's because they're a J. That's because they're a P.
Yeah,
Carry on.
that's the sort of language that they were using. So it was very common to speak that way. And again, it. Some people hated it, but a lot of people liked it because it was a very quick way to understand what people were saying and where they were coming from. Anyway, I had recently been appointed as kind of the, well, I don't want to say PA. I was the service coordinator and working very closely for the student leader, and it was a new appointment. I don't even know if I'd met his wife. It was only briefly, and we were at our first student weekend away, and I hadn't met his wife, and so if you think about the letters like INFP or whatever, this person, his letters on Myers-Briggs, he was an ENTP, and P's kind of can sometimes have a reputation for maybe not being as organised. They
That's me
maybe
and
find
Jordan are
planning a bit more
Ps.
difficult. They need someone to kind of help them get their ducks in order. Well, I'm a strong J.
yeah.
So that's what I had been brought in to do, to help him organise his life.
Yeah.
And so I went up to his wife and I'll call her Tracy. She wasn't. And I said, "Oh, hi, Tracy. Really good to meet you. I'm so looking forward." I'll say husband. No, I'll call him a different name. I'll call him Jack. I said, I'm really looking forward to helping Jack handle his penis. Meaning penis. Really looking forward to helping your husband handle his penis.
Like P.
Like
Dash.
Like
Janus.
Janus.
Like Janus.
Yeah.
NESS,
Janus.
yeah.
NESS, yeah.
And she looked at me
Oh,
and she
my
burst
days.
out laughing, and I was like, "What? What? I'm really looking forward to helping him handle his penis, improve his penis." And she said, "Do you realise what you've just said?" And
But
I'm
did
like,
she know what you were trying to
"Oh,
say?
totally."
Oh, okay, that
But-
makes it
but
better.
she totally understood what I was trying to
Yeah.
say.
If a woman came
I
up to me and
literally
said that
didn't
to me
realise.
about Jordan, I'd be like, what?
She'd be dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
I don't know what this blood is all here and everything, but you know.
Yeah. So
I never met her.
You do have to be a bit careful.
That's
with
so
language sometimes.
funny.
But I was so embarrassed, but also I found it so hilariously funny. I literally doubled over and like just bawled laughing for the next 3 minutes. It was just so
Well, at
funny.
least she
But
thought it was funny.
she took it very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, she thought it was funny. Anyway,
That's hilarious.
so yeah, we should probably wrap this one up, shouldn't we? But
Yeah. Wrap it up. See if the sound quality worked. Being outside in the wind, it got a bit
And the
windy.
dog's
Yeah.
barky. Barky?
Yes,
Barking.
yes.
So yeah, we'll see. Thanks for listening, everyone. Appreciate it. We have the Facebook community that you can join through the link in our bio on Instagram. If you are unsure about anything, you want clarification, or just want to contact us, we have an email, which is contact@ourhomepodcast.com.
Great.
And follow us on TikTok.
And yeah, follow us on TikTok.
Follow us any way you like.
Comment, tickle
Yeah.
our head.
Let us know if
Yeah,
anything we're
comment,
saying
tickle
is
our heads so that
resonating or
Jordan will tickle my
helpful
head.
or not. Be great to know. Thank
Lovely,
you.
thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, see you next week. Bye.
Bye.